Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples with the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing today?
Uh, good. A cold day in Edmonton. I went skating at Victoria Oval today, Bruce, and man, I could
Oh, yeah.
not get my feet to warm up no matter how hard I tried to skate. But
Mhm.
chilly out there. But the Oilers heated it up, Bruce. They scored 8 goals in an 8-5 victory over the Ottawa Senators. They are now one game below the magic mark of real 500 in the NHL. And I don't know if getting to real 500 would give them enough points to have a playoff spot, but it'll be huge, Bruce, if they can get back there after a pretty iffy start to the year in a lot of ways. Big win, and they just got to keep it up. What was your take on the game?
Well, I kind of saw what I expected to see. You may have remember me kind of emoting over this game earlier in the week as to how it was going to be tough for the Oilers to come back on without a day off between games after over 2 weeks of a game day off after every game, and also how it would be a big effort on Saturday against Toronto. It might be easy to take the Senators lightly, and that I thought they needed to score a bunch to sort of outscore their mistakes. And basically, that's kind of how it worked out. Thankfully, the goals started coming early and often, and the Oilers' devastating power play took care of business with four consecutive goals on their first four chances, and they were running with the lead all night. How they protected that lead kind of left me cold at times, but I was expecting sloppiness, and I got sloppiness. So I guess
Reed
you know.
Wilkins tweeted out, Reed Wilkins of Ched tweeted out, Bruce, that the Oilers in their last 14 games against Ottawa and Edmonton were 12-2,
Yeah,
12 losses
yeah.
and 2 wins. So
Six straight wins by Ottawa. It's the first time Edmonton beat Ottawa since like 2013 or something.
shocking stat,
2014.
but it was almost in some ways I think it was good to go with Stuart Skinner in net because of that, because you got to. It's almost like you had to shake this team up a little bit. Like this is a big game. This is a must-win game. Although they might have realized that anyway, given their place in the standings. But having Skinner in net, I think, might have increased their urgency a little bit in the game. So Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Because it was a win, we'll go with two good things each. I think you mentioned your first good thing already, but tell me a little bit more about the power play.
Oh,
What
yeah,
wasn't there
yeah.
to like? I
That is
guess.
my good thing. I forgot about that, but yes, of course it was my good thing. 4 out of 4, and they were just deadly. Ottawa just couldn't handle the Oilers' supreme first unit at all, either the 1A or the 1B unit. I was happy to see Alex Chason back in the lineup and back on the power play. And his version of the power play involved two goals that the goalie couldn't see because all he could see was big 39 on Alex Chason's back right in front of him. And then the James Neal version of the power play scored a goal by James Neal going to the edge of the crease and cleaning
Sweet.
up the mess. And that was a nice goal as well. So you look at the stats and you'll see James Neal with, that goal plus another one at regulation and Alex Chason with nothing. But both were effective on the slightly different versions of the power play. And then, of course, outside of them, the big three, big four, really, with Tyson very heavily involved tonight. We're making the puck sing and dance and uh, emphasizing it with a goal horn at the end of the tune. Like it was pretty awesome to watch how they went to work. And even on a couple of them worked right away, and a couple didn't. But they got a great chance, like one where Barry rang one off the post, and the Oilers were able to recover the rebound, work it around for another great chance. And this time, I think that was the one Nuge buried into the top corner over the goalie's shoulder, and they were executing. And
Mc,
obviously, four in a row is an exceptional night's work, no matter who you're playing against.
McDavid had 8 grade A major contributions to grade A chances on the power play. Bruce, 8, which is that's a hell of a game.
And how many at
Jason
even strength, by the way? Just
won.
yeah, his line
So
was.
yeah, that line's not. I'm not loving that line. Anyway, Chason had on 2 goals. We so far, we've credited Chason with screening the goalie on 2 of the goals, on Barry's goal and on Nuge's goal, I believe.
Yep.
And Neil scored. So these were elements of the power play that weren't working previously. Chason and Neil had not been effective early in the year, and neither had Tyson Barrie. We hadn't even seen that great shot very much, and he unleashed it today. And man, that was about time and great to see. So that was a huge relief to me to see Tyson Barrie actually get it done on the power play. But so good for him. Bruce, my first good thing will be the play of 2 players who are this was William Lagesson's second game this year for the Oilers, and Gaetan Haas's first. And regular listeners of this podcast will know that I've made numerous impatient references to hoping that Gaetan Haas will get back in the lineup. We've been seeing him play in Europe. We saw him play last year. And frankly, the more I've seen of Kyle Turris, the more that impatience grew. But what Gaetan Haas has to offer as a hockey player is speed and smarts. He is a very fast hockey player. In terms of the Oilers forwards, there's not many there's McDavid, who's faster than him, but it's a very small list after that. And he's what he does is cover people in the defensive slot. And it's not like he's a big guy who overpowers them. He just sticks with them. He blocks the passing lane and takes them out. And he does it consistently. Bruce, I counted 4 times on the penalty kill where he cleared it down the ice. He played his A game. I was worried after COVID that he wouldn't be able to do so, but he was out there flying. So that's great sign for the Oilers, because they have a gaping black hole at 3rd and 3 and 4C right now. And if he can take one of those positions and fill that, that's really huge for the Edmonton Oilers. And I see no reason why he can't, based on last year's play. I mean, he was a plus player at even strength, and he's a decent hockey player, Gaetan Haas. So,
well, 3C would be a huge bonus, but 4C, I think, he's already proved he's capable of that. He played a lot of games last year on a winning team, and held his own, and he's got some stuff that the Oilers need. I mean, the speed is, you always want to add to that team speed. The right-handed stick on the face-off circle played to their advantage a few times tonight, I thought. And his defensive coverage, as you say, like he's very good at sort of sticking with the guy. I mean, no matter what kind of moves the guy might be putting on him along the wall or in the open spaces, that he always seems to be between the guy and either the net or his passing target. He's in the lanes, and he's got a very good understanding of the lanes, which is it stands out compared to some of the players on Oilers' bottom 6.
And we'll get to that in a little bit. So Lagesson, we've never seen him play his A game in Edmonton yet. I think he played a handful of games last year, played 1 game. This is the first time, like, you and I have seen this William Lagesson play in the AHL. Yep. We saw it consistently. We saw this William Lagesson play in Sweden. And there was a lot of controversy when the Oilers decided to protect William Lagesson over Anton Forsberg. Yep. And rightly so. I mean, that still might come back to haunt them, that move, losing Forsberg in the waiver draft, the goalie over the defenseman. But Bruce, William Lagesson can play in the NHL. I have said that for the last 4 or 5 months, or last year, watching him in Bakersfield. He can play in the NHL, and I thought tonight that he showed that. He's a tough, smart defender who can move the puck a bit, who's got decent mobility, and I thought he had a strong, I think he had a good game. I don't know what you're gonna give him. I'd give him a 7 on that game, 7 out of 10. It was a good game. I'm just going to check to see how many mistakes he made. 1 mistake on a great scoring chance against. So he was pretty much like in a fairly wide open game. He was playing really safe, almost error-free hockey. His partner struggled a little bit more, and we'll get into that. But I liked William Lagesson's game. Do you have your
Yeah, Lagesson. I mean, my one criticism would be that that pairing had nothing going on offensively. Like the Oilers only had one shot on net all the time that he was out there. But that said, it wasn't his job, and especially when you have Chris Russell on his wrong side as a partner, you're not expecting the unit to do a great amount of attacking. But they held their own. He won quite a few one-on-one battles, eh, Lagesson?
He
Like
did.
he's tough to
In
get
front of the
along.
net, he did.
In front
That's
of
what
the
I
net
noticed.
and along the boards, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, that was the standout to me. I haven't seen him like in a real good way in that capacity, at least not as good as I saw him tonight. So yeah, he will get a positive grade for sure.
What is your second good thing?
Well, I got to tip the hat to old Leon Draisaitl there with his 6 assist night. I think it was it 3 in the first period and 3 in the second period. I think that's right. And yep. And then kind of a little bit took the third period off from the scoring part of things, but I thought he was diligent on the two-way game tonight. His line at even strength was I would say easily Edmonton's best at even strength. And on the power play, obviously he is a big component on that deadly power play. I think he got three points at each discipline. All assists tonight, so he's now 2 games without a goal. So he's kind of slumping there, but after 6 in the previous 5 games, I guess we'll give him a pass. And he was giving other players a pass, starting with the record setter right off the bat of the game. But you're going to talk about that. But a number of fine fees, a couple of cheap assists, where you
Yeah.
pass it to McDavid and he makes a sweet pass to someone else. And the way the Oilers power play works is, they move the puck around a lot. And sometimes the secondary assist is just a matter of getting the puck to the right person as opposed to being the deadly penetrating pass. It's usually the first assist that's more likely to be that. But he 6 more points. I mean, man, he's on fire again, and we got the top 2 scorers in the league now with some separation, I would think.
He's Bruce. He's plus 10, plus minus this year. That'll maybe shut up the people who were whining about that stat after last season.
I think he's ahead of
plus,
the Chushkin, who was -3 the last time I looked.
now that's a shocking thing because I hear that Nikushkin is one of the very elite players in the NHL, Bruce. One of the very elite players. So
Maybe that'll get you going.
So, yeah, his line has actually had a lot more success and chemistry than McDavid's line at even strength. And McDavid's line, I think, is honestly they're still searching for the third member of that line. And I'm also don't see a huge amount of chemistry between McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. If I'm completely honest, I just don't see, like they're not combining all the time on great plays. They're not. So anyway, because McDavid's even at even strength. So the point scoring, Bruce, McDavid has 22, Draisaitl 21, Marner and McKinnon at 14 each. Ooh. James Van Riemsdyk at 13. Wasn't there even some talk about James Van Riemsdyk being bought out? Like I remember this, like
James Van Riemsdyk. Wow,
he might be bought out past summer because there was some unhappiness. I think there was some they didn't like how he played in the playoffs. Anyway, I don't follow the Flyers close enough to know about that a whole lot. But man, yeah, these guys, it's a pretty low scoring NHL this year, I have to say, in terms of points. Well,
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think they've been putting up a fair few goals. I've seen a few 1-0 games. It depends which division. At some point when they get a few more games in, I'm going to sit down and take a hard look at the differences between the divisions because all 4 of them are completely contained this year. So it's like 4 different leagues.
Yeah,
and that's one of the very different aspects about the 2021 season. That's going to be it's going to be a gold mine for those bent on statistics and numbers and so on to try and parse the differences between the various groups of teams. And to be honest, at this point, I'm all Canadian division all the time. I'm all about these teams. And of course, we know who the 7 teams are in the Canadian division. I'm not sure, David, you could give me a blindfold and a cigarette I'm not sure I'd be able to tell you these are the 8 and these are the 8 and these are the 8 in the 3 American divisions. You know,
I'm
like
paying zero
eventually
attention.
it'll sink in because they're all the ones that are playing each other will sort of.
Yeah.
But at this point, I know they split them 3 8 team divisions, and they're sort of obvious ones that aren't rivals and they're obvious ones that are. But to get all 8 right in all 3 divisions, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. I know I couldn't. I'm not paying attention at all to those other teams. All right, so my good thing, Bruce, is Dominic Cahoon's first goal. He was getting about one grade A scoring chance shot per game in his first 8 games or 9 games, whenever it was, and playing okay, but it was starting to have this Tobias Reeder feeling to his effort, where not quite that bad, because he looked closer to scoring to me, and he's clearly a much more highly skilled player than Tobias Reeder, but it was getting a little bit frustrating or iffy. Like, he's making these plays. Is he ever going to score? Is he ever going to connect? And finally he has, and that was a bit of a lucky shot, but he earned some luck because he's had some hard luck saves against him. So good for Dominic Cahoon. He is I think a very good player with the puck. He on that line, he offers much of what Nugent Hopkins would offer on that line. He's not as fast as Nuge, though. Like, he's not as quick on the forecheck as, but he's very strong passing the puck, and he's pretty good shooting. He's okay shooting it as well. So that line's going pretty well, and Dominic Cahoon's a big part of it. So good for him.
Yeah, he made a terrific play on, I think, was it the Yamamoto goal, where he never even got a point, Cahoon, but it was he who shook the puck loose behind the Ottawa net on a really good strong forecheck, and he just took the puck off the guy, and from him it went on a 3-way cycle through Barry and Draisaitl and to Yamamoto, the goal scorer. So Cahoon never got even a point, but he sure deserved the +1 he got, because without him, that play never got started. And I think he's very crafty. Like, I like his game. Like, he's kind of a ninja out there. And he sort of comes out of nowhere and shows up in really good places. So
Sergey Samsonov. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a clever hockey player. He's a good player. I compared him before the season to Jordan Eberle. In terms of style of game. I think that comparison's kind of holding up somewhat. Eberle hasn't been a great even strength scorer, but now that Cahoon's starting to finally get some points, it makes a little bit more sense. Bruce, what is your? Oh, by the way, we were talking about McDavid. So he's on track. He's getting two points. 2 points a game. So my fondest hope, like I remember at Christmas time, I did a thing on my fondest hope for each Edmonton Oilers. For McDavid, it was 100 points this year. And Bruce, he is well on his way. He is well on his way. So we'll see.
He and Leon are both well on their way, 22 and 21.
Yeah.
When your second best scorer has 50% more points than any other player in the league, you'd like to think you'd be better than 5 wins, 6 losses. So there's that. But I mean, the scoring power that Edmonton has at the top of the lineup. I mean, the team scored 38 goals, and their top 2 guys that play on 2 different lines have 43 points. So they've got literally more than 1 point between them for every goal that the Oilers have scored.
I'd like to see James Neal with McDavid and Nuge for a while. See how that goes. I think that might get those guys going at even strength. I really like Puljujarvi as a player, some aspects of his game, but I think he would do well with Haas, on a line with Haas, and maybe Chase on or someone else like that. But more of a grinding type. But that's probably not Chase on because he plays the same wing as Puljujarvi. But that's what I'm hoping to see. All right, bad thing.
Yeah, again, not too unexpected in that. Just the nature of the schedule had this one kind of set up, but I wasn't real happy with the Oilers' even strength play, and I wasn't happy with how they managed the puck, and I particularly wasn't happy with the third line's mismanagement of the puck. For the 3 veterans that they have, just a few too many just pucks getting thrown away for no good reason. Neil had a couple of ones that either went through his stick or there was one that wound up being a too many men penalty because he couldn't take an easy pass and make a routine shoot in to enable the line change. It was just sort of a stone hands kind of play. Uh, uh, Zach Cassian clearing the zone. Uh, I mean, how many times have we heard Cassian can't clear it from Jack Michaels already this season? And then there's the Kyle Turris, who on the fifth Edmonton power play, the one that didn't score, and finally the second unit got out for the last 25 seconds of the power play. And I'm not kidding, David. I went over this play. I saw it the first time, and I said to my wife, Turris had the puck 3 times, and he couldn't. He coughed it up all 3 times. And sure enough, he had the puck. First time he got it behind the net of the Senators, and he fired a pass that nobody could touch that went all the way down into Edmonton's end. And then twice they tried to break back in, and twice they passed it to Turris, and he couldn't handle the pass, and he just coughed it up in the neutral zone to the Senators, who just hammered it back in. And 3 times in 25 seconds, couldn't make a single play to just take or make a pass. I mean, just sort of fundamental hockey skill. Like, what's with that? Skill is the one thing that he's supposed to have in abundance, and make some plays.
Bruce, he should be benched. He should be in the press box next game on merit, and it's not even close. He made 4 major mistakes on grade A chances against this game. And it's always the same thing. The puck goes through him in the defensive slot, someone who makes a good play and sometimes scores. He's struggling, and he's struggling to make a play anywhere on the ice. I just don't. I haven't watched him closely before. I don't focus a lot on the other teams. I'm a very Oilers-centric viewer. So I didn't, when the signing was made, like, what do I know? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe you hope it works out. But what did they see in reviewing the videotape last year that made them think he was a good pickup? Because if it had to be something drastically different. So
could have been that different because Nashville bought him out for 4 years remaining at $6 million. So they're eating $2 million a year for 8 years for him not to play there. But you like to think, and sometimes you often do see a player coming out of a buyout getting re-signed at a much cheaper rate, A, because he's already getting paid, and B, he's suddenly looking for a job. And he, at the lower rate, he turns out to be a pretty reasonable player for that second team, right? Like, I mean, we saw it last year. I think Tampa had a couple guys, Bogosian, and that worked out not too bad. At a lower rate of pay, that was more along. And you're thinking like a guy that was deemed to be worth $6 million a year for 6 years by David Poyle, who's a pretty sharp cookie as a GM there in Nashville, and all of a sudden, there he is on the market. And the first day they snapped him up, 2-year deal. And the price seems reasonable enough, but we got to see something tonight. Now, to their credit, that line did score right off a face-off. There was a face-off win by Turris, quick shot by Neal, good quick screen by Cassian and in the net. And the rest of the game, like, I think the shots on net when those guys were out there were like 4-12 for Cassian, and what else we got there? Turris 4-11, Neal 4-9. Like the play was in their own end. They weren't defending particularly well, and they weren't managing the puck, which goes back to my original point. Like, get the puck out, get it deep. When you got a 2 or 3 or 4 goal lead, and you're just trying to kill the clock. Get the darn thing. Do the Ryan Smith thing, man. Get pucks deep.
Here's what I wonder about Turris, Bruce. Is he in shape? Like, this is my last question about him, because he just doesn't seem quick enough right now. And so my hope is, I don't know if they are going to send him to the press box. He's a fairly major signing, but I think it's certainly warranted at this point. Drew Shore's been playing better, and Haas is a better player than Turris is.
Changes the equation for sure.
So
Haas is an option.
Yeah, having Haas is an option. So, but give him, if it is a conditioning thing, and I don't rule that out, give him a couple weeks and just, buddy, just get in shape, get faster. You got to get faster. And maybe that'll help. There was one play, it was in the third period, I think. And let me just find it here, Bruce. the Oilers had gotten it out of the Senators' zone. Let me just make sure this is in the third period because, yeah. Sorry. Second period, I guess. They'd gotten it out. Anyway, Turris was just kind of wandering, and he was beside his guy as the Senators broke in over the zone on the counterattack, and he just let the guy beat him. He just let the guy get ahead of him to the net. Like, that's just not acceptable, and I don't imagine Dave Tippett is going to find that acceptable. So, anyway, we've been beating up on this player enough. I hope he can find a way to turn
there's
it
some
around.
reason for it, and there's something that he can do to turn it around, because so far it's just not been very impressive at all. And whether he's dragging the line down or whatever, I mean, that line, you'd like to think a third line with three well-paid NHL veterans with hundreds of games under their belt each would be able to at least hold their own in their part of the game, if not dominate it to some extent. But we're not seeing much domination from that crew.
And it's going to cost the Oilers when they play good teams all year long if they can't figure this out. And maybe that means it has cost them all year, and it will continue to do so. I mean, Tippett's already taken Turris off the PK, right? So essentially, did he even play tonight on it?
I thought he was out for one of the Ottawa power play goals, but
Nugent.
Yeah, he was on for the
Yamamoto.
first. Well, it was even strength. My bad.
That was an even strength goal. Yeah. No, I don't think he was, Bruce.
Okay.
So my bad thing, Bruce. Adam Larson. I've been defending him all year, and I continue to defend him. I think he's a good hockey player, solid defensive defenseman. He had a couple groaners though tonight, which will add plenty of fuel to the fire of the many detractors at this point, or at least there's a number of loud ones. I don't know how many there are. The first one, Caleb Jones bites at center ice and loses a battle. So there's kind of a 2-on-1 with McDavid tracking back. Then Larson goes for the block shot. I think it was Drake Batherson shooting that one. And from the high slot, Batherson wires it in. Was that the goal?
That was the Brady Tkachuk goal.
Was that Tkachuk?
Yeah, it was the Brady Tkachuk goal. Yeah, and Larson kind of did the reverse starfish where he went down, but he actually slid back and away from the shooter, and he actually gave him some room to let fly over him.
Well, he was trying to stop the pass. He thought a pass was coming, Bruce. He thought he was blocking the pass because he didn't see McDavid tracking back as fast. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he slid where he did, I believe. But, and maybe Skinner should have had that
shot. But I mean, nobody defended it. They just backed away from the guy, really.
Yeah.
So.
No, I marked it as an A chance, so I guess I thought it should have.
It was a wicked shot from between the circles, but it was.
And then
Caleb Jones made a real bad read outside the blue line. I think it was. It got beat.
Yeah.
And then it was cluster from there.
Then the second mistake was late in the game when the young German attacker for Ottawa, is it Stutzle? Comes down the wing and just burns around Larson, just absolutely walks Larson. And from a fairly sharp angle beats Skinner as well. So it wasn't a great moment for Skinner, who had some good saves, but as Louis DeBrusk said at the end of the game, probably some that he would want back. I would concur with that. But Larson looked, the people who say he was too slow for the modern NHL, that might be Exhibit A on their highlight reel of moments when he has looked kind of slow.
If you force the guy wide enough that he has to shoot from below the dots, though, your goalie has to be big and square to the shot. Like Skinner was right back hugging his post when there was really nothing else for Stutzle to do but shoot the biscuit.
Yeah. Read the play, cut down the angle. Yeah.
And there was, it was a great shot, but I mean, the top corner was there, and from that angle, really, he should have had nothing. So. I mean, if the guy beats the defenseman wide and then is able to cut right in and make a deke or a play from in front of the net, or if he beats a defenseman wide and he's far enough out that he can get a shot from a good angle, then it's more on the defenseman. Larson did look a bit clumsy there, and Stutzle looked pretty fast and he exposed him pretty good. But in the end, that's one that the goalie's got to stop, in my view.
I agree, Bruce. It's also one that Larson might want to.
Oh yeah, he might want to have that one back, as I always say about the goalies. I'm very tired of that expression. And all the color commentators use it all the time, and they have for like the last 10 years.
It's a way to let the
find
goalie off nicely instead of saying,
how about he should have made
screwed
the
up on-
save?
he should have made the save. They want to be nice.
He'd
Yeah,
like
they're
that
just
one
nice.
back. Yeah, all goalies would like all of them back. This just in.
Indeed. All right.
So
All right.
anyway,
What's your number?
I'm going to go with 19 and 6. Again, this is our man Leon Draisaitl in the face-off circle, just bossing the face-off circle to the rate of 76%. And in all situations, like they are using him as a PK face-off specialist. And it's beginning to look like the Oilers actually have finally, after all these years of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Andrew Cogliano and Sam Gagner and their 38% face-off woes, that they finally have a guy that not only can hold his own in the circle, but can better than hold his own. And on most nights, like that, it's none of them is like over 50% every night, I don't suppose. But Leon's now rocking 57% on the season, and he's in the top 10 of NHL face-off men of anybody who's taken a decent number of draws. Like there's a few guys that are 1-for-1 stuff that is meaningless, but of the regular centers, he's 8th or 9th in the league. I looked it up earlier, and he was over 123 wins, 90 losses. So that's a pretty significant separation between 50%. And obviously he added to that tonight, but he was well ahead of the curve even before tonight's game. And that's a good development. Almost all the guys on the list and the leaders list are older than him. And that is very much an older player's art, winning in the face-off circle. It comes with old man strength, but it also comes with smarts and with gamesmanship, and there's how to cheat in the face-off circle. Like some of these things just accrue over time to players, and the young guys usually get killed in there. Well, Leon's now 25 years old, isn't he? And he's not a young man anymore. And man, he's big. And that one play where he squashed Stützle in the corner and just took the puck away from him. I mean, this was not old man strength, but prime of life man strength. That he's going to win more and more battles, including those ones in the face-off circle. And 19 to 6, they were mentioning it frequently on the broadcast tonight, and they were right, because it was the Oilers were starting with the puck on Leon's watch a lot.
So, Bruce, I have a number of numbers. It's about the Oilers' power play. So last Monday, I wrote a post on the Oilers' power play, and I mentioned, I know everyone's freaking out about this power play, and Tyson Barrie's not fitting in, but I said, they're getting as many chances as they got last year on a per-minute basis. The power play, even early in the year when they weren't scoring, they were getting as many grade A shots per minute as they were last year when they were the best power play in Oilers, one of the best power plays in NHL history, and one of the best power plays in Oilers history. First in the NHL last year, 29.5% success rate on the power play last year. So they were 25th in the NHL on last Monday overall on the power play. They were clipping it on an 11.5% success rate, Bruce. They only had 3 goals. So, but I said, listen, they're getting the chances. Everybody be patient.
Yep.
This is one prediction I am very glad, very, very, very glad came true. But I did not predict this would happen. Here's what's happened since then, Bruce. In 21 power play minutes since then, they've scored 9 goals. In 21 power, they have had 18 grade A shots since then on the power play, and they've scored on 9 of them.
Oh. That'll rise the old shooting percentage.
Yeah. So now, Bruce, they're at 28.6% success rate on the power play. And they're 10th. They're still just 10th in the NHL because it's early in the year and some teams have had tremendous success.
Really pumping them in, eh?
Yeah. So anyway, they did get it together, and it wasn't completely with patience with Tyson Barrie. I mean, they moved away from him for a game. I think maybe get everybody settled, get everybody.
Yep.
And tonight I mean, Ottawa, their penalty killing. Well, of course it looked bad, but they didn't pressure the Oilers enough. They weren't on them, and you give these guys time on the power play, and they will score 9 goals in a week in 21 minutes of power play time.
Well, last Tuesday night, was it? They had 2 power plays in Winnipeg, and it took them 58 seconds to score 2 goals. I remember we talked about that night on the podcast. Yeah. Tonight it was 6 minutes and 4 seconds for 4 goals. And of course, that included the failed 2-minute power play. That was the last one. So 4 minutes for 4 goals tonight, and then a bonus power play that they didn't convert. But it is a devastating unit. There's just so many weapons. I mean, one of which we saw a couple times tonight that didn't work, but it could have. McDavid flying in on the attack on the rush, and usually power plays score off of possession plays as opposed to on the rush. But McDavid, as we've already seen twice this year, is quite capable of going in and doing it on his own.
And he's got to do that now and then. Same with Draisaitl. Like every now and then, they've got to just go for it to keep the defense honest, right?
Well, Draisaitl has that one where he dawdles through the neutral zone as if he's just setting up that back pass to McDavid, and people look at McDavid winding up below, and then all of a sudden Leon puts on the Jets and goes in, and he got a breakaway one game, and another game he got a chance and a goal from a bad angle, but he broke in because of his change of speed fooled the defense. It's an old trick that he's used in overtime in the past, where he'll just suddenly go from sort of first gear to fifth in not very much time. And he there was one other game he tried it and it didn't work, and you said he was impatient and he should have waited, but I think I know what he was trying to do there. It just didn't work, right? Where he tried to surprise the defense and burst through. But it's a nice option when you got 2 superstars that are either one capable of suddenly, making a solo attack or making brilliant passes and setting up combination plays. I mean, they really have just a myriad of ways that they can put the hurt on the other team's penalty kill. So it's wonderful to watch.
And now we'll see how it goes, like with Barrie and Neal and Chason making some really significant contributions tonight. Like now all the pieces are starting to fit together a little bit more like we remember them fitting together. So that's very good news, Bruce.
Plus they got a goal on a delayed penalty tonight too, which we can't really count as a power play, but power play didn't even need to get out there that time because they already scored. So
8 goals. Kind of sweet. Alrighty, Bruce. So Tuesday night against the Ottawa Senators, I guess we'll see Koskinen back in net.
Yeah, no doubt Koski will be back for that one. And then the team as a whole actually gets 3 days off after this pretty brutal pace to start the season, 12 and 21 days.
Hey, before the game, Bruce, would you have gone with Koskinen or Skinner? I would have reluctantly gone with Skinner over Koskinen. I thought that the odds of maybe Koskinen getting hurt from overuse. Right. Well, that was my main concern, more than any other concern, because he can't get hurt, so that's what I was thinking.
Well, after the game on Thursday on the podcast, I was thinking Skinner would start tonight, and then last night after the podcast, I thought it would be Grosnick, just because the Oilers had gone to the trouble of activating Grosnick to be the backup last night, and I thought, well, there goes Skinner's chance. And I'm not quite sure what the thinking was there, because what it wound up doing was forcing them to move out another player to activate, Skinner. Like there's 3 goalies on the active roster for tonight's game. So they just moved Ennis to the taxi squad, and they have enough guys on they can move that on a game-to-game basis. There's quite a bit of flexibility built in at the moment. Yeah. But I just don't understand what the point was of that sequence, and eventually they did go with Skinner, and he looked like a raw 22-year-old goalie. Some real
Yeah.
good skills. Like he made some nice saves in tight. And there were other times, where his angles weren't perfect or he lost his net on the first goal. Um, his puck handling was not real sharp, just some of those edges that need to be filed off. And I don't think, personally, I don't think we'll see him in the NHL again this season.
No, and let's to be fair to him, we
And
shouldn't. He
no, that's
struggled at
right.
the AHL level. He needs more time in development. Like some people are saying, oh, Skinner's in. He kind of earned it. Like, no, this was a colossal screw up by Ken Holland that that had us with his turn of events. Bruce is the truth, and it was he put the this was a big mistake, and I suspect they're going to have three goalies on their active roster for the rest of the year because you can't risk losing Grosnick. I don't think, because I think Grosnick is a proven AHL goalie. Like he's had 2 years in a row where he's had a really good save percentage there. He's proven there. You can't risk losing him unless you get a better player back. So I suspect the Oilers are going to have three goalies
Maybe.
for the rest of the way on the roster. If Colin can't, he cannot make the same mistake again, Bruce, because they got away with one tonight, frankly. And there was a chance that was going to happen,
Hmm.
that Skinner was going to come in. He's an inconsistent goalie. Sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's cold. Mostly last year at the HL level, he was pretty cold, but he did have those games, and he had an adequate game tonight. But they got lucky, and I think we'll.
Well, they picked their spots and they picked them well. It turned out that the Oilers could score enough goals to get away with it, and they gave him a ton of goal support right from the opening 8 seconds when Cahoon tied Wayne Gretzky all-time franchise record, fastest goal from the start of the game. The great one did it in Madison Square Garden in sometime in the 80s, early 80s, and I still remember watching it. I think it was just it's kind of a backhand tip in from in tight. It just sort of things went right off the draw. Tonight's was strange because there was actual whistle in between during the 8 seconds. That's hard to do, but it was a nice little feather in his hat. And just to riff a little further, it was fun to see the three Germans posing for pictures together: Draisaitl, Cahoon, and Stutzla. Uh,
Yeah,
that's for a German hockey fan, that's just got to be wow. We've never been here before.
yeah. I wonder. So if they have, let's say they do have three goalies on their roster,
Mm-hmm.
I I, I
Gonna
can
have to
see the
waive a
thinking they don't want
defenseman,
to
David.
lose. Well, do they, Bruce? You could have 12 forwards. I mean,
I
I'm not
guess.
exactly sure of how all the but if you want to keep, let's say, Lagesson and Russell and a goalie on your active roster, I mean, I don't. Would you lose Chris Russell if you waived him?
Well,
I don't
this
think
is
so,
no, this yeah,
Bruce.
this is
I
a
don't
good
think so
point.
with his
I
cap
think you
hit.
could 100% get away with you could waive Chris Russell with impunity. No one's going to
Yeah,
jump on that
that's
contract.
right.
So he would be the one, and when he's not playing, goes directly to the taxi squad, like we've been seeing with several of the forwards. I mean, they really, I think, got that figured out with the forwards. I mean, this week I wrote about this yesterday morning. All the moves they made, 5 moves on the forward line in 3 games, and every one of them went direct from team to taxi squad and back. And for Alex Chason, poor guy was on the roster, but he was locked in that number 13 spot and he couldn't get. So tonight he got in, but the other 6 changes that they've made of the forwards in the last 4 games, because they changed 2 or 1 every game, 6 changes that were taxi squad to team with the other guy going the other way. So, Devon Shore or Tyler Ennis, when it's their turn not to play, they've been waived already. Straight to the taxi squad you go. So, yeah, you may be right that there's a way for Holland to work around
It'll
that
it'll be a
and keep a third
challenge.
goalie, because waiving the goalie seems to be the hardest thing to do in the NHL this year.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge. I mean, like Chase on. Let's say they decide to take him out of the lineup. Could you waive Alex Chase on and have him go through?
I think so.
I Probably because he's
At
earning
two
$2
point
million.
one million dollars, two point
Yeah,
one five million dollars. Like, there's
you
not
could
many
certainly.
teams that have the cap space, and there's not many teams that would say, "Oh, that's the guy that's going to put us over the top." Like, he's a
You
he's a
can.
good, useful player, but I think they would. And he's the one they didn't take a risk on waiving. But yeah, they could waive him. They could waive James Neal
They could
if there
waive
was
Kyle
any.
Turris.
any reason to, if there was any reason that they think he's not going to play every game, at this point, Neil, since he got back in, he's played every game, so there's no reason to waive him. But they could. Nobody would touch that contract with a 20-foot pole.
I think the tougher ones are the cheaper contracts like Slater
Yep.
Cuckoo and Lagesson. I think
Yep.
realistically, some team might take them. I think they would be wise to take.
Forsberg.
Yeah, I think they would be wise to take either of those players. But the expensive players,
Nygaard, he got through.
he got through. Yeah, and I thought he might go. Now, that didn't happen. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I think they can't get in this situation again where you have to play a raw rookie goalie like that. So, and I don't think they will. I think Grosnick will be ready. I think that the reason he didn't play is because he hasn't been on skates very much in the last 2 weeks. So I suspect. So I think he'll be ready the next time they have a back-to-back. When is that? It's like another 2 weeks.
Yeah, when they're in Ottawa on the 8th and 9th, I think it is, Monday, Tuesday of like 9 days from now. Like they play Ottawa again this Tuesday. Then they have 3 days off. Then they play Calgary Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday. And then they go east and they play Ottawa back to back Monday, Tuesday. And I suspect that if Smith is not ready, which by then he's eligible to come off LTIR if he's healthy, but from the sounds of things, he's a ways off. And I honestly would expect them to give Koskinen one of the games in Ottawa, and I'm guessing Grosnick and not Skinner to get the other game in the second series in Ottawa, because by then the veteran will be more, part of the team. Like once he's traveling with the team and stuff, like the team literally met him on Thursday morning or something, like just the other day, right? So
yes. What's with Mike Smith? Do we know?
All I heard was a knee. He did something to his knee, and he did it, I think, possibly warming up to be the backup for the season opener because they played Vancouver, remember, right away back to back. And the first night he didn't play, and then the second day he didn't even participate in practice, or of course, obviously the game. And he went straight to IR. So something happened apparently during that warm-up, and the whisper I heard was a knee, but there's other whispers, so who knows for sure.
Have we heard anything more about Bear?
Yes, they showed during the game tonight, and he got hit in the head by a puck, and he was sitting on the bench. Last night's game, they had a replay of it, and McDavid was playing the puck out in center ice, and one of the opponents tipped it, and it was one of these low line drive screamers that goes straight into the bench, and all the players ducked, and Bear was kind of at the end of the bench, and it gonged him right in the side of the beam.
On the helmet?
Yeah, hit him on the helmet. So they gave him tonight off as a precaution, and they wanted to probably wanted to see Lagesson again, and thinking, it's a potential concussion thing, don't mess around, give him a night off, and we got other D, and let's reevaluate, send him to specialists on Monday morning kind of thing. But I'm hoping that it's just precautionary, and it would be the wise thing to do, and they did it, so that's good, and hopefully that's all it is, and he's ready to go again soon. He's
remember
the first-pairing guy on this team.
Remember when Tom Rennie got hit on the bench, and he suffered headaches and problems for a long, long time after that. Now, the fact that Bear was wearing a helmet, if it hit him on the helmet, that would hopefully make some kind of a difference. But they missed Ethan Bear's defense tonight, Bruce. Like Tyson Barrie had a good game on the attack, but Tyson Barrie and Nurse had some pretty iffy moments behind their own blue line. And Ethan Bear is just a very steady, solid defensive player. So, they miss him.
Tyler Buns, that's the other one, David. He was playing for the Western Hockey League Selects against the Russians in one of these super series. When the Russians come and they play 2 games in each of Quebec, Ontario, and the Western Hockey League.
Yeah.
And Buns was selected to be one of the 2 goalies, and he was the backup on the first night, and he was the starter in the second night. Well, the first night he was on the bench without a mask on. He's the one guy on the bench that's not wearing anything on his head, and he got drilled by a puck, and he wound up missing the game he was supposed to start, and he wound up being out for a while. And I don't suppose that concussion, which was diagnosed as, I'm pretty sure, helped him in his career. And they actually made a rule after that the backup goalie had to wear his mask on the bench just to avoid such a scenario and happening in the future. So just terrible, terrible luck for Tyler Buns and terrible luck for Ethan Bear the other night. And, they had some good footage of him on the bench, sort of rubbing his head and shaking his head and kind of half pissed off and half kind of dazed, I think, because he got, it was a hard shot that gonged him pretty good.
Who was Tyler Buns playing against? Did you say that, Bruce?
The Russian selects in the Super Series, the 6-game tour that the Russians do against the juniors, or they used to do every year. And Buns had worked his way up the WHL depth chart that he was considered one of the 2 best. And so he was going to start one of those games. And that happened.
Yeah, I see it in his hockey stats, career hockey stats. He had a good year in Medicine Hat that year.
Yeah, he did.
I think it's 2011-12. So he after that game, he still played well, it looks like. But as a pro player, he certainly never got anything done as a pro hockey player.
Well, he played a period in the NHL, which is more than any other drafted Oilers goalie has done in the last 15 years. So there's that.
There is that.
Don't get me started.
I won't. Oh, I got some kind of extra sound there. I hit an ad thing trying to shut it down. Okay, Bruce, let's leave it there. Sure. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. I'm looking forward to writing about a win tonight. About time.
Is that your first?
First of the year. 1-4 now. Beats the crap out of 0 and anything.
Certainly does. Thanks, everyone. And in the meantime, and in between time, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.